Hello, this is going to be a lesson on linear inequalities, and before we can talk about linear inequalities we need to talk about some of the symbols that we use when we do linear inequalities. First of all, the lines. If you have a symbol of greater than or less than, your line is going to be dashed lines with empty circles. And if you have the symbols greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, in other words, the inequality sign with a little dash underneath, you're going to have solid lines with solid points. Okay? Now, the inequalities has to do with shading. Okay? So if you have the symbols greater than or equal to, basically you're going to be shading above the line. So here I gave some examples on different lines, and where would above be? Here's a line going up from left to right, and this is where you shade if it was greater than or equal to. If the line looked like this, that's what above would be, and if it's a horizontal line, that's what's above. And if it's a vertical line, basically greater than, we're looking for the values greater than x, then a particular x, so then basically it would be shading to the right. In other words, above would be to the right. And here the same thing I did for less than or equal to, which means below the line, and these are the locations where below the line would be on different types of lines. Okay? Now that we have a general idea of these symbols, let's go ahead and tackle some inequality problems right now, or linear inequalities. Okay? Here I have a linear inequality. Okay? Basically, you're going to use the same principle that we use on graphing lines. Basically, remember, we want to have the y alone, and what's the y alone? We're going to remember the formula y equals mx plus b. The only difference that now is that instead of an equal sign, we're going to have an inequality sign. But basically the question is the y alone? In this particular problem, the y is alone. So let's go ahead and identify a letter m and a letter b. A letter m, or slope, would be negative 2 over 5. Basically the slope is the number in front of the letter x, and the b is the number without x, so but my b would be a 1. With this information, I'm ready to proceed to graph my line. And I come here to my coordinate plane, and I'm going to start my line by graphing, or by plotting the point, or the y-intercept. Okay? Now because I have this symbol greater than, remember I'm going to use empty circles and a dashed line. So basically, starting at 1, I'm going to make an empty circle. And once I make that empty circle, I'm going to use my slope, which is down 2, and I always go to the right first. Down 2, 5 to the right. Once I finish the right side, I return to my starting point, and I go up 2 and 5 to the left, up 2, 5 to the left. Okay? Now that I have those points, I connect the points with the dash line. So there we go. And now comes the big question, which is where should I shade? According to this, I should shade the symbol is greater than, so that means I should shade above the line, and above the line on a line like this would be over here. And there we go. Alright, let's proceed and do the next problem. The next problem, we ask ourselves, is the y alone? And in this particular case, the y is not alone. So first order of business to get the y alone. And first thing I'm going to do that is send the 6x to the other side. So that means I'm left with negative 4y less or equal to 12. Move the 6x to the other side, becomes negative 6x. And we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. Divide the 4 by the 4s. The 4 cancels, the negative cancels. I'm left with the y. Now something very important to remember. Okay? When you divide an inequality by a negative number, okay, so here I'm dividing by negative 4, that means you need to flip the inequality sign. So the inequality sign is pointing to the left this time. It's going to point out to the right. And now you do the division. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. And can I divide 6 by 4? The answer is no, but I can reduce the fraction by dividing top and bottom by 2. So the fraction becomes 3 over 2x. Alright? Very well. So that means my slope is 3 over 2. And my b is negative 3. So, according to this, I have greater or equal to, so that means I'm going to use solid line with solid points. So to graph my line, I'm going to start at negative 3. And from there, I'm going to go up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, and then backwards, down 3 over 2, down 3 over 2, and then I will connect the dots with a solid line. And according to this problem, I'm supposed to shade above the line. So above the line in this case would be right over here. Okay, so that would be my answer. Alright, let's proceed to the next problem, which is found on the back side of this paper. And in this particular problem, I noticed that I have parentheses and I have y's on both sides, so I need to really simplify this inequality before I can start graphing. So first order of business is get rid of the parentheses. So this would be 5x plus 10y greater than 3y minus 15 minus 13. Alright, now my goal is to get the y alone on one side. I always like to have things on the left, and in inequality it's very important that you get the y on the left. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange the numbers here. We want numbers with y on the left, we want numbers without y on the right. So 5x does not have a y, so it's going to go to the other side, so it will become negative 5x. The 10y has a y, so I'm just going to bring it down. The 3y is on the wrong side. I need to move it to the left, so I'm going to move it, and it becomes negative 3y. The negative 15 is fine where it is, so I'm just going to bring it down. The 13 as well is fine where it is, so I'm just going to bring it down. So now what I'm going to do is combine like terms. So on this side I can combine these two guys, which gives me 7y. On this side there's nothing that I can combine with 5x, so I'm just going to bring down the 5x, but the negative 15 can be combined with the negative 13, which will give me negative 28. Alright, as we can see, things are getting better. All I need to do to get the y alone now is divide both sides of the equation by 7. So this would be y greater than negative 5 divided by 7 is negative 5/7 x, and negative divided by a positive is a negative. 28 divided by 7 is 4. Alright, so that's my inequality with the y alone. Now that the y is alone, what I'm going to do is identify my m and my b. My m is negative 5/7 and my b is negative 4. Okay, so with that I'm going to start graphing, and if I notice I don't have, this is a greater than, so I'm going to use a dashed line with empty circles. I'm going to start at negative 4, which is right there, and according to this I'm going to go down 5 over 7, and then I go backwards up 5 over 7, and I'm using a dashed line. There we go. Okay, and according to this I'm shading above the line, so above the line would be right there. Alright, I wanted to take this opportunity and show you that sometimes on a multiple choice test, you might see a question similar to this where you have to solve the inequality, and the final question will be which is a solution to the inequality. So they might say which is the solution to the inequality that they give here. Okay, and let them say the multiple choices are A, they give you -5, -4, they give you B, the choice might be -7, 1, and letter C is 2, 3. Okay, so in order to determine which one is the correct answer to be part of the solution, the point has to land on this region, on the shaded region. So let's take a look. -5, -4. Put your pencil at the origin, count -5 to the right, to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this point on the shaded region? Nope, it's not the answer. Alright, let's try the next point. -7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Up 1 is right there. Is right on the line, right on the border. But because the border is filled with empty circles and a dashed line, that point is not part of the solution. Had this been a solid line, that point then would be part of the solution. This is a very good question that sometimes they like to put on the state test, so this is very important to pay attention, okay? If that line is a solid line, then the point is part of the solution. But in this particular case, because the line is not solid, rather is a dashed line with empty circles, the point then is not part of the solution. The last multiple choice is 2, 3, which should be 2, 3, which is right there, and as you can see, that's part of the solution, so that would be your answer. Okay, alright, let's continue on to the last two examples. These ones are simple examples. They only have a letter, and as you recall, these letters, when you have a letter equals a plain number, you're either going to have a vertical line or horizontal line. Okay, if it's Y and a plain letter, then you're going to have a horizontal line. So basically you go to Y equals 3, 1, 2, 3, and because this is greater than or equal to, this is going to be a solid line. So all you have to do is draw a solid line like this. And because it says less than, then you're going to shade below the line. Okay, the next one is x greater than -3, so you're going to go to -3 on the x, and you're going to do a dash line, and we want to shade to the region that is greater than -3, so the region greater than -3 will be to the right, so this would be my answer. Okay, alright, this concludes the lesson on linear inequalities. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.